Hey guys, welcome to Priceless B-Movies. So I've had a lot of requests sent my way, and in an effort to kind of clean up a little bit, I've decided that I'm going to binge review and put up 4 film reviews in one day that are all requests that have been sent my way. We've got 2 dark comedies and 2 slasher movies, and they're almost all from the same decade, so I guess it's okay for me to group these together. But seeing as how I am trying to do 4 of these in such a limited period of time, let's just get right down to it and get started with the first one. Cool World. So Cool World stars Gabriel Byrne as a comic book artist, and while in prison, he has created this comic book series called Cool World, and it's kind of this underground series. There aren't really a whole lot of these kinds of comic books that exist today. Back in the 90s when this Cool World was made, I think that comic books were a much bigger thing than they are now. But it's not too long after he gets out of prison that he is sucked into his comic book. He is sucked into Cool World, which turns out to be an actual kind of alternate universe. And in this alternate universe, there's definitely a couple of oddball characters. It's like, to say the least, there's a couple of oddball characters. We get Brad Pitt as a human detective, along with all these animated creations. The animated creations are known as doodles in this film. And Brad Pitt is the one human other than Gabriel Byrne in this world. And he's basically a cop. He's like the Cool World police. And it's his job to monitor the place. He doesn't really do that great a job of it, though, because it's like every other scene in this movie, there's a whole lot of illegal shit going on with all these characters. Also, there's this kind of vampy Marilyn Monroe-esque female character named Hollywood, as in Hollywood if she could, which turned out to be the logo on almost every poster and advertisement for this movie. And what that logo and what that name is referring to is, if she could, she would get out of Cool World. She wants real bad to get to Gabriel Byrne's world, our world, the real world. And what she doesn't realize, and for reasons that I still can't comprehend after seeing the movie several times, if she goes into the real world, for whatever reason, it'll cause the worlds to merge, and all hell will break loose, and it'll be horrible for everybody. This makes very little sense to me, though, since Brad Pitt went from one universe to the other and it was okay. A couple of the cartoon characters go from one universe to the other and it's okay. Gabriel Byrne crosses over and it's okay. But for some reason, if Holly crosses over, it'll be horrible for everybody. I don't really get it, but that's the premise of the film. To say this movie is kind of a mess would really be an understatement. That's not to say it's not fun, but it is a mess. There is far too much going on here, and the movie is never really able to focus on one aspect of the story for very long. Really, the main issue here has nothing to do with the actors. Brad Pitt, Kim Basinger, and Gabriel Byrne all do really good jobs with the material they're given. And especially considering that, in the early 90s, it basically means that, not so much for Kim Basinger, but for Gabriel Byrne and Brad Pitt, they spent a lot of time in a completely green room acting for nothing, acting toward nothing, reacting to nothing. Their performances are more or less, they've got nothing to go on. You can kind of tell when you're watching the movie, too, that obviously in animation, blending the live action and animation, that they're really at a loss a lot of the time. They're not quite looking exactly where the character is that they're talking to, or the props or something they're holding that's a prop doesn't really look like they're holding it. There are all these little lapses in the animation and the effects, and after a while it becomes really distracting. I think Cool World started off as a great idea, and then the studio just tried to meddle with it so much that in the end it's just kind of like a train wreck. But it's a train wreck of great ideas. I like the whole concept of, the 2 worlds can't merge together. That was really one of the only interesting ideas in the Mario Brothers movie. And, really the less we say about that, the better. Holly's a fun character, and Brad Pitt does a really good job, as I said. The only thing I really don't like about this is that, in terms of the main characters, Gabriel Byrne has almost nothing to do. I don't like that his character is almost irrelevant halfway into the movie. And I really think that in an effort to juggle all the plot elements in this film, it's hard to figure out exactly what you're supposed to be focusing on. I made the same complaint a couple of weeks ago about the Elvira movie, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. I think that the tone likes to shift so much, and the focus of the story likes to shift so much, that it's really hard to figure out exactly what you're supposed to be hoping for, what characters you're supposed to be sympathizing with, and what's going on. And the whole idea of trying to create Cool World as a universe full of characters that should be memorable, but most of them really aren't. In fact, I can't even give you the names of many, if any, of the cartoon characters in this film. It's kind of like it tries really hard to be of the same quality as, say, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but the issue here is that they try to pack so many characters who ultimately mean nothing to the plot into the primary focus of the story. Altogether, Cool World is an entertaining enough movie, it's a fun movie, but it is one that's almost kind of like you're either going to get it or you're not. But unfortunately, I think even if you're one of the people that get it, you're still going to notice the multiple flaws in this film. I'm going to go ahead and give Cool World 2.5 stars because I got it, but I do see that there's a lot wrong with this movie. I think that the results of the studio meddling with the original script and the original ideas, and the effort to try to kind of turn the script into a much broader idea and pack so many more characters into it and do so much more with it, all of these were big mistakes, and it cost the film a lot. Also, and this is kind of me just nitpicking here, Kim Basinger, she's good enough in this movie, but she looks so different. At one point, she does turn into a human version of herself, and it's just Kim Basinger. And, I remember reading somewhere that Drew Barrymore, Tracy Lords, and a number of other actresses were considered for this. And for whatever reason, it's kind of like, and you went with Kim Basinger? So many of these other actresses probably would have done a much better job. The character of Holly as an animation is far more interesting than anything Kim Basinger actually does with it when it's just her. And I think that's extremely noticeable, the contrast when you're supposed to accept that this is the same character and she just looks different. But that's my review of Cool World. Stay tuned, like I said, this is one of 4 reviews that I'm posting today, so I got 3 more coming right at you. And hey, keep those requests coming. If there's a horror, action, crime, comedy, any genre film that you think doesn't get talked a lot about, or that you think might have had some kind of following when it came out, but that no one really knows anything about today, please let me know. Let me know in the comments section. I'll see what I can do about checking out a copy of that movie and putting up a review for you. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Priceless B movies.